Hi y'all, I'm Allison. Today we are going to continue on with our buddy read of Weyward by Emilia Hart. We'll be moving on to the second stop. And I have to say, after discussing it with y'all in the comments, I'm actually looking forward to finding out what happens next. I'll admit, when I set down the book the other day, I was just like, okay, and just ready to move along with my day. But now I'm actually looking forward to find out what's going to happen, which is a good thing. So thank y'all for that. I think, the buddy reading aspect of it just adds so much to a book. It's just so much fun. Even if the book isn't incredible, it's the experience itself of reading this with y'all just takes it up like 5 notches for me. No problem. All right, now, if you have stumbled on this by chance, then I am going to sadly have to ask you to go to part 1, because during this video I'm going to be reading our next segment, reacting and speculating as I go through, and then we'll get together and discuss it in the comments. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't gotten to where we are in the book, which reminds me, if you have not made it to page 168, which would be 51% into the book, and for my audio listeners, you should be in chapter 25, around 5 hours and 32 minutes. Our magical paragraph, which was, "Damn you, I hope you rot in hell like your whore of a mother." So if you have reached that point, then you are in the right place, because we will continue on from there and go up to our next stop. But before we do, going through the comments, everybody seems to be 100% in agreement that while we like the writing, there's a certain detachment to the characters. I don't think anybody is really connected with anyone yet. And thankfully, Wanda's best life, she gave me a different little perspective on that. She pointed out that during our first stop, the first portion of this, it's all about atmosphere and character development. And I wasn't looking at it that way. I was wanting to get to the crux of the story. So looking at it through a Wanda's point of view, she's dead on. That's exactly what's happening. We're kind of still getting the lay of the land. So I expect we're going to have a lot happen in this next portion today. At least I hope. And I hope it's not all just terrible. So, and that's another thing everybody is in agreement upon. Frederick is going to be bad news. Our little red flags are flying. Everybody's bracing for whatever horrors he's probably about to inflict on Violet. So I'm betting Father intends to marry her off to Frederick, and Frederick's not all that he seems. And I do have to give it to the author, Emilia Hart, because Frederick really came across as a pretty benevolent character. There wasn't anything nasty in his demeanor or anything until that one conversation that they had at the table. And with that short conversation, immediately she was able to convey that this character is one to keep an eye on, and that there's something there. So I'm really impressed. And not only did she do that, but she did it through dialogue. Her dialogue skills are really good. So I think regardless of what my overall opinion of this book ends up being, I am very impressed with the writing in it so far, especially for a debut. Oh, one last thing before we move into the other room so I can start reading. I would love to know where everybody's at. So send me a hi, or pick an emoji that you want. Maybe, something like a scarf or a hat or something, if those exist, because it snowed in Texas. Yeah, I've got snow. I'll show you a picture. Lily was not having it this morning. I opened the door and she just, nope. She looked at me and she backed up like, I'm not going out there. And I don't blame her, because if it's snowing, I'm not going. And my dog agrees. So I am wearing my pajamas today. It's a snow day. All right. Oh, one last thing. Comments. Just as a reminder, I haven't given one of these in a while. When you do comment and join our discussion, which I hope you do, please make sure and keep it contained to this segment of the book that we are discussing in today's video. So if you read ahead than, wait until we progress up to that point before commenting on something further into the book, because we want to intentionally spoil things, not accidentally. All right, let's go get into this and find out what's going to happen. I'm actually excited about it now, which I'm surprised by. Okay, I keep rambling. Let's go. Look. Oh my God, I'm outside. How scary. I mean, pretty is that? This is Texas. We're not equipped for this. Oh, look. It's just wrong. You going out, Lily? You want to go outside? Lily says, no, I don't want to go outside. Okay, a while back I knocked my ring light to the floor and now it's all loose. Or still tilted. I gotta get up. She's gonna steal my spot. Okay, I'm gonna ditch the robe because of the microphone. My house, it's 2-story. This room is open to the upstairs, so there's 18-foot ceilings in here, which is not a good thing. Come winter or even summer, all the heat's up there. So downstairs we freeze while they roast upstairs. And the electric company is asking us to conserve. They're asking us not to overdo today. So, we don't put stress on the grid. And we don't want trouble. So, I want to keep my power. So I'm willing to bundle up with blankets and a robe. Okay, I got a blue blanket this time, so you'll be able to see Lily a little better. Let's dive back into this. I hope it's not going to be too dark and depressing. We will see. Where am I supposed to be? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's right. I think we've got, what's her name? Yeah, Kate had just found Rupert's letter, which is Violet's father to her mother. And she's recalling, I think, when she first met Simon. Yeah, it was when she first met Simon. Okay, here we go. I don't know that it was necessary to get so descriptive with her period, but okay. Okay, moving on to Altha. I really want to know more about her story. Ooh, the spider against her earlobe. No, thank you. She is really good with imagery. Altha's talking about death or the act of dying. Okay, I'm reading the testimony from the doctor at Altha's trial, and I'm gonna digress here for a second. They're obviously painting the doctor as incompetent and everything because he relies on leeches, which was a common practice, but there is actually proof that the leeches did offer some benefit. So it's kind of like the myth regarding corsets. Women were always tight-laced and corsets were hell and all this. And that's not true. And the same case with leeches. There were times when it was actually beneficial. So it's not as incompetent as they're trying to paint. And I just wanted to point that out. Whenever I see that, it's kind of like the same where you see the books where they're complaining about the corsets, and that wasn't true. They're just kind of going along with the stereotypes that we have. I'm not saying by any means that this doctor was competent or what he did was correct or anything, but I just wanted to touch on the leech thing. And it is sad because this is exactly how it would have played out, that she just would have been accused. How dare they meddle by trying to offer natural remedies to their neighbors or anything, and if anything goes wrong, they're going to pay the price, meaning the women. Okay, back to it, because now they're shifting from their interference with medical issues to characteristics of witches. Yeah, the ignorance. It's just ignorance and hatred. That's what it boiled down to. And probably jealousy. Oh, and I almost let it go that, the prosecutor was not, he reacted when the doctor did say that he had seen results of many farm accidents. So implying that it wasn't unusual for farmers to be hurt, by the animals that they were tending, and, a stampede wouldn't have been that far-fetched. But of course, that's not playing into the narrative that these prosecutors obviously want to play out, and that is to find Altha guilty of witchcraft. They're on a witch hunt, literally. Oh, that's what she was scraping at on her body. I guess she has a witch's mark. Wow, and they just rip her gown over her head. She's in her shift, so her slip. Oh, and they took that too. So the doctor may not be a completely worried man, because he's saying, oh, it wasn't there. Might have been a flea bite. And, he did state there were accidents on farms and everything. So I don't think he's acting out of pure malice. So that is nice to see. Although the prosecutor wasn't happy. And of course, I'm invested, and we're going to time jump again. These time jumps are too quick. Okay, back to Violet. So it seems like the women, they have this same crow with the white streaks on its feathers, because Altha's mother had it, and now, who is she? Violet's mother. And it was called Morgue. All right, so we just saw another glimpse of Frederick. Violet just had her first kiss. And obviously he had been drinking, even though she didn't recognize that's what she was smelling on his breath. So, yeah, bad things are going to happen to Violet. But we know that. We know all three of them are going to go through unspeakable horrors. And it looks like Violet's mom was probably pregnant with a third child, because she thought that her mother had died giving birth to Graham. But Frederick mentioned that she was a danger to herself and the baby. Okay, bouncing. I'm still having trouble. Normally, I love multiple. I think because I'm not, it's so, I don't know if it's maybe jarring. I'm still not connecting to anybody. So just when I feel like I'm starting to relate to the characters, I'm pulled away and in with another one, which is normally not something that happens to me. I wonder if it's because we're constantly looking for dangers and all the terrible things that are going to happen to them, instead of actually getting to know them. It seems like they're all, just on the precipice of something terrible, and we didn't get to know them aside from that on, say, a normal day, under better circumstances, to build that bond with them. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, all the women in the doctor's office were very judgmental of her, and apparently the family has a reputation of being witches, even in modern day. So, okay. And I just have to say, she was going to an OBGYN. First thing she would have done when she got there was had to pee in a cup. So, Doesn't mean she wouldn't have to go again afterwards, but I just wanted to point that out. I'm glad she's decided to keep the baby. I'm sure I would have been marked as a witch. I have moles all over. Their testimonies are not looking good for Altha. You know, he's saying, I felt somebody watching me from the trees, and you know, the crow comes along and scares the cows, and then they stop after trampling like the spell had been broken. It's very good. You know, it's wrapping her fate up nice and neat. Okay, part 2. I wonder if this is when we'll finally, you know, finally start caring, as awful as that sounds. Like I said, I think Altha's my favorite storyline so far. She's the only one I'm really like, what's gonna happen to her? Oh, so Violet wasn't ever actually told that her mother died in childbirth. Just that her brother survived. So I wonder. Okay, so Violet just had her dinner and more sinister foreshadowing regarding Frederick, but other than that, And we're back with Kate. Why would Kate's at the graveyard and everything, seeing the old Weyward headstones from Violet and her brother and whatnot, and then she's wondering about Altha's grave because she was accused of being a witch. Yeah, and then she's wondering where the rest of the Weywards are. And she gets uneasy as she remembers the weathered cross under the sycamore tree. Could it? Surely it doesn't mark a human burial site. Well, of course it does. I don't know why that struck me as, duh, it's a cross. Of course it's going to mark a site. I just don't understand why she would be so skeptical of that. You know, it's obvious from the very get-go. Didn't even have Rip on it, rest in peace, or was that somewhere else? I don't know. I think I'm quickly discovering I don't like Kate. While I feel for what she's gone through, I don't think I like her. And we've got the same W carved on the Violet's headstone that's on the necklace. Dun, dun, dun. Can you tell my impatience with lyrical writing is coming to the forefront? I don't know what it is. I just cannot connect with this book. I was really hoping that, you know, since we're getting deeper into it, we're about to hit the 50% mark, that it would start resonating with me on some level, but no. So I'm gonna go get a Diet Coke and take a little break. I think I've got roughly 30 pages left, so I will be right back. And I'm curious to know, are y'all having the same reaction to it as I am? I know Wanda's really loving the nature aspect of it and the witchy vibes, but I think this just isn't my type of book, to be honest. And I also think part of the problem is those the content warnings. You know, I wonder if I wasn't aware of those themes in the book, if I would be approaching it differently. So that's one reason I hate checking content warnings, because, you know, for one, people mark everything. So you don't even have to read a book. You can just read all the warnings, everything that's been tagged, and you're like, okay, here's what's going to happen. So The only ones I did look at were the graphic, the main ones. And I wonder if having that knowledge is tainting my reading experience. That could be a large part of it. So I'm curious, are y'all running across the same thing? And if that's the case, then, you know, do you wish I hadn't told you of the content warnings, or are you glad you were aware of them? I'm curious what y'all's opinion on all of that. All right, I need Diet Coke and maybe a piece of chocolate. That would be good. Okay, I'll be right back. I always run the risk of not being able to reclaim my space whenever I get up. Tuck Lily in. She's gold. Her fur's not very thick. I need a haircut desperately. I'm going to do that once the weather clears. I don't want to lose the length, but it's tangles so easy because it's just strung out. Okay, I am back on Altha's, and I was thinking about it. I wonder if I would have enjoyed the audiobook better on this one, because I've noticed with my audiobooks, provided that I've got a good narrator, that's when I enjoy the more descriptive passages and really hone in on the writing, as opposed to when I'm physically reading a book, then I'm rushing for dialogue. I love conversations, and I need at least a medium-paced book. With my audiobooks, that doesn't seem to be the case. I'm content with a slower pace, you know, slow unveiling of things. And I think that's because when I listen to my audiobooks, I'm diamond painting, so I have something to keep me stimulated and active while I'm absorbing the story, where this is, I'm just, you know, I'm conscious of how long each page is and stuff like that. I should probably get diagnosed. I think I have ADHD for sure. All right. And that's because my husband and daughter have both been diagnosed. And the more I learn about it, the more I recognize the things I do. So, which is completely off topic. So let's get back to Altha. At least it's my favorite character. Okay, so we know now who's accused Altha, and that was William Metcalf, the woman who died earlier, her husband. Again, that part of the trial seemed kind of anticlimactic for me. Yeah, so Frederick's definitely a raging alcoholic, and he just made Violet drink some brandy in her lemonade too. Okay, so Kate just got off the phone with her mother, and her mom knew all along that Kate's relationship with Simon wasn't right. So I am glad to see that, the conversation being had. And Kate told her about being pregnant. So there is some good in that. Okay, she was asking about the Viscount over at, is it Orton Hall? I wonder if Frederick is the Viscount. You know, because there was, you know, Violet's father was giving Frederick like an inventory of their household possessions and everything. So I wonder if he ended up inheriting by marrying Violet, because Violet was the oldest. But I don't know how the inheritance, I don't know if they're, you know, all that entailment stuff was still in play in, what year was it, in the 40s? But apparently there was some kind of scandal and everything, and disinheritance. So maybe Graham was disinherited, and Frederick actually ended up inheriting the estate. So I'm going to call that. I'm betting he's the one living up there, or his descendant or something. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm guessing this is Frederick. Kate is at Barton Hall talking to the elderly man there, and I'm guessing maybe Violet set midges on him because there's like wings everywhere, and the man is holding up in the study. So I guess she got even. I was wondering when the magical aspect was actually going to come into play, because so far it's just describing scenery and, you know, the crow. Yeah, just more foreshadowing. So she's back home without any answers. And we're back to Altha's. It looks like Altha and her mother are kind of hiding after she learned that there was people being accused of being witches, people that Altha's mother knew, and that they do need to be out in nature to survive for their, I guess they're connected to nature that way too. Yeah, he's accusing her because what happened with his wife, talking about William Metcalf. Wow, so she's being persecuted by William through his grief, I would assume, just for being in the room when his wife died under Altha's mother's care. And just because she's the spitting image of her mother, therefore she's guilty. That was a dramatic exit from the courtroom. So it was William Metcalf who gave our quote for the magical paragraph. I was guessing that it would be Frederick, but I was way wrong. Had to go get my notes. Now that I had to put the book down. Of course, it's right in the middle of something that's going on, but I did notice that we are going to change perspectives once again as soon as we pick the book back up again. So I don't know if it's just going to pull me out. I wish either the segments were longer, or maybe they each should have been their own separate book, because I'm really having a hard time, obviously, about getting invested in this book. And it seems a shame, because I think underneath it all, there's probably a really good story there. I'm just slogging my way through. Hopefully the next time that will change, which is sad because we officially reached 51% now, so halfway through the book. If it wasn't for this buddy read, I don't know that I would have continued. I might have just flipped to the back to see what happened and, called it good. And this is the winner. I'm curious what other books it was up against. I wonder, is that list still available? I should look and see. I do want to know what y'all think about it. Are you enjoying it more than I am? And again, it's not that I'm not enjoying it. I'm just not enthralled by it by any means. And it just hasn't captured my attention yet. But surely next time it's going to amp up. I do think, let me see if I can make any predictions here. I think Frederick is definitely, he was getting Violet drunk, and her father and a brother are sleeping, and they are going to go for a solitary walk. So I think it's quite obvious that things are about to go dreadfully wrong for Violet. I would assume he's going to steal more than a kiss. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, things aren't going to go well for Violet, and the court case is not looking good for Altha at all. I do find the court case intriguing. I do like that aspect of it. And it looks like we may now have a little hint of what's coming up with the magical realism. That's it too. There really hasn't been any sign of that. And, considering that's supposed to be a big proponent of the book, I would assume there would have been hints to it before. But, that's okay. And who's our other person? Oh, Kate. I just don't like Kate. I haven't liked her from the very beginning. I don't know. What's y'all's opinion on Kate? Do you like her? I am curious about, the response she got at the old estate. Again, I maintain that's Frederick. Frederick's the one living there. Trying to think of this. I am really looking forward to seeing y'all's opinion on this segment, because I want to know if it's capturing you, if you're feeling yourself being pulled in or not. We do need our next magical paragraph. So next time we are going to get to the 72% mark in the hardcover copy of the book. That will be on page 234. For the audio listeners, that's going to be 7 hours and 48 minutes into it, thereabouts. And it'll be in chapter 35, I think in the middle of chapter 35. And you are going to be looking for to tear around the house in such a state, engage in such fantasies, ... And that is part of a letter dated September 1st, 1927 to Eleanor. I don't know who Eleanor is. All right, so when you reach that point, you are going to want to close your book and then wait for the next video to come out, where we will resume on to the next spot, which I think will be the end. So we've only got 2 more videos left. We're at the halfway point. So now if you are coming to this later and we have already completed reading the book, then I'm going to challenge you to wait at least 24 hours before you pick your book back up and move on to the next stop. So it'll give you some time to, mull it over a little bit. So maybe you'll appreciate the book more, or, find yourself a little more invested if you're struggling with it like I am. And definitely chime in down on the comments, no matter when you join their little party, because I will keep an eye on those. And I'll be sure and respond, making sure to avoid giving away anything that will come later into the book. All right, I will see y'all a day after tomorrow with our next stop, which will be our 3rd one. And again, I'm getting a little bit more invested, so I do want to see what happens next. Bye. Y'all have a good one, and stay warm wherever you are. And Finley says bye too.